It begins quietly, almost innocuously, with a handful of astronomers huddled over faint patterns in the data. You don't hear about it at first, why would you? The nightly news has no space for small gravitational anomalies buried deep in a star cluster halfway across the sky. But there's a murmur online, a ripple through the niche forums and science blogs you check late at night. People are posting about a wobble, subtle lensing effects recorded by high-precision telescopes. You think little of it until one evening, scrolling past a grainy image of a globular cluster, you notice something off. A faint streak of light curves slightly round a point of darkness, not a shadow exactly, but an absence. The post claims this distortion was detected in multiple frames over several nights, from observatories in both hemispheres. Someone calls it gravitational lensing on the move. At first, the chatter centers on exotic but harmless explanations. Maybe a neutron star, maybe a dense brown dwarf hidden in the cluster. Yet even in your casual reading, you sense hesitation. Astronomers seem careful, their words chosen with surgical precision. You've seen enough interviews with scientists to recognize when they're holding something back, not lying, exactly, but withholding the more alarming possibilities until they have certainty. Weeks pass, the anomaly appears again, now in data from a different part of the sky. That's when people start realizing this isn't stationary. Whatever it is, it's moving. The distortion shifts subtly between observations, like the shadow of something inching closer, and every simulation shows the same conclusion. The path is curving inward toward our solar system. You find yourself reading late into the night about how gravitational lensing works, how mass bends light, how invisible objects can betray their presence through the warping of background stars. And you learn one more unsettling truth. The stronger and more compact the lensing effect, the denser the object must be. Soon, you begin noticing how the public statements grow shorter, vaguer, and less reassuring. An unusual high-mass object. One research team calls it compact, non-luminous, says another. The most striking admission comes buried in a technical briefing you find posted online. No measurable radiation output across the M spectrum. No light, no heat, no radio waves, just mass. That rules out most familiar objects. It rules out almost everything except for the unthinkable dot in the amateur astronomy community. Theories bloom like weeds. The word black hole appears more often now, always with a question mark, always followed by disclaimers about uncertainty. You tell yourself that a black hole in a distant star cluster shouldn't matter to Earth. Space is vast, distances are safety. But this one is moving. Somewhere along the way, your own perception changes. You used to look at the night sky and see permanence, a slow cosmic clock, its hands moving over eons. Now you imagine motion everywhere, hidden currents of invisible giants drifting between the stars. The idea that something so small you can't even see it could be heavier than entire worlds and still wander like a ghost unsettles you in ways you can't quite articulate. One night you stand outside, tracing constellations with your finger, and think about the object's journey. How long has it been traveling? Was it flung from the heart of a collapsing star millions of years ago? Has it already passed other systems, ripping away their planets without notice? The thought makes you glance down at the ground as though the solidity beneath your feet could be an illusion. In the weeks that follow, subtle changes occur in how the discovery is discussed. Major observatories confirm they've allocated more time to tracking the compact object. International cooperation is quietly ramped up. Space agencies post bland public statements about monitoring a high-priority near-interstellar mass. The media still doesn't bite its to technical, to distant, but you notice the shift in tone. On an overcast evening, you join an online stream from an observatory in the southern hemisphere. The host, a soft-spoken astrophysicist, tries to stay upbeat while fielding questions from the chat. But when someone asks if the object's trajectory intersects the solar system, he pauses for just a beat too long. "We are not ready to make predictions," he says finally, and you hear the weight behind the words. From then on, you can't unsee it. Every lensing diagram, every trajectory map, every faint curve of warped starlight feels like an omen. You begin imagining the invisible traveler slipping silently through the void, its path indifferent to whatever worlds might be in the way. The first mainstream mention comes unexpectedly. A short article on a popular science site reports that an unidentified massive object has been confirmed moving toward the inner galaxy. The piece reassures readers that such objects pass harmlessly all the time. But in the comments section, amateur astronomers and physics students tear the reassurance apart, citing the strength of the lensing effect, the object's compactness, and its lack of radiation. One user posts a chilling sentence: "There's only one thing that fits all the data, and we're not supposed to say it yet." You feel caught between fascination and dread every night. You scan the sky knowing you won't actually see it, not directly but still searching for some sign. Some faint ripple in the stars. You think of it as a shadow with no light source, a curve in space where space shouldn't be curved, and you wonder if, somewhere deep in your bones, you can already sense its pull. It's still far, unimaginably far, but the knowledge is like a splinter under your skin. This thing is moving toward us. Slowly, yes, but inevitably. And it isn't a question of whether it will matter, it's a question of when. The hidden threat. They're calling it now in a few corners of the internet. Not officially, not in the journals or the press releases, but in whispers, in late-night messages, in posts that vanish after a few hours. They say it's older than the Earth, heavier than the sun, and utterly silent, a predator that doesn't need to hunt, only pass by, and whatever lies too close will be lost forever. You start dreaming about it. Not images exactly, but feelings, the strange pressure in your chest, the sense of falling without movement, the knowledge that something vast and cold is sliding toward you through the dark. And in those dreams, you understand the simplest and most terrifying truth about it. It doesn't even know you're here. The first time the news reaches the front page, you're sitting at your desk, half listening to a podcast, when a notification pops up. Astronomers confirm massive object entering solar system. The headline feels strange in your mind, cold, factual and understated, like someone whispering an alarm instead of shouting it. You click immediately. The article is short, almost evasive. It states that an international team of scientists has verified the existence of a high-mass, non-luminous object that has crossed into the Oort cloud, the vast halo of icy debris that marks the edge of our solar system. The object's exact mass, velocity, and trajectory are still being determined, but its gravitational influence on nearby comets is already measurable. You read those lines over and over. The words are tidy, clinical, and devoid of emotion, but to you, they feel like the opening line of a disaster novel. The Oort cloud is light years wide. Crossing into it means the thing is no longer an abstract speck in a distant cluster. It's here. That night, the story spreads faster than the scientists probably intended. News sites run with it. Social media swells with speculation. Memes appear within hours, some joking about a space demon, others dead serious, attaching diagrams of gravitational lensing arcs with alarming captions. In every thread, the same question rises: what is it? Official channels cling to ambiguity. NASA's statement refers to it as a compact, massive body and urges people not to panic. The European Space Agency releases a graphic showing its approximate position, a tiny dot barely within the icy shell of the solar system, but offers no prediction for its future path. That vagueness, you realize, is not because they don't know, it's because they do. In the following days, more details leak. Amateur astronomers track slight positional shifts in background stars. As the object moves, they calculate its speed, not fast enough to whip through and leave, but slow, deliberate, like it's been wandering for eons and just happens to be passing through here. A passing black hole, some whisper. Others cling to more benign theories: an ultra-dense rogue planet, a dormant neutron star. But with each new lensing measurement, the latter theories crumble. You watch a live stream from an observatory in Hawaii, where a team explains how they measured the mass by studying the object's effect on distant starlight. The host hesitates before saying it. The gravitational lensing suggests an object several times the mass of the sun, but no emission, no visible light, no infrared, no radio. It's not a star, it's not a planet. It's unlike anything we've observed this close before. Your stomach drops. You know what he means without him saying it outright. The shift in public perception is immediate. What was once a niche curiosity turns into a global fixation. Talk shows invite astrophysicists to explain gravitational lensing, and animated graphics of curved spacetime fill TV screens. Politicians begin mentioning cosmic monitoring in speeches. At first, it feels almost exciting, a collective awe that unites people across borders. But beneath the surface, there's a tremor of fear that's hard to ignore. In chat rooms and private calls, you hear the quieter conversations, the scientists who refuse interviews, the leaked internal memos that talk about projected perihelion distances and orbital disruption modeling. One particularly unsettling rumor claims the object's trajectory, if unaltered, could bring it into the inner solar system within a human lifetime, maybe even sooner. You find yourself glued to updates. The object's unofficial nickname, the Visitor, begins trending. It sounds almost friendly, until you remember that visitors can come uninvited. You learn that its approach has already altered the orbits of several long-period comets, slingshotting them inward toward the Sun. Astronomers predict that in the coming decades, the night sky will see a surge of bright comets. Beautiful, yes, but also a warning sign of the gravitational giant creeping closer. The more you read, the heavier the reality becomes. This isn't a cinematic disaster where the threat is days away. This is a slow-motion catastrophe. The object is unimaginably far, yet in cosmic terms, it's practically at the doorstep. And unlike an asteroid, you can't nudge it off course with explosives or rockets. It's a mountain of gravity wrapped in darkness. One evening, you join an online Q&A session with a physicist from Cambridge. Someone asks the question you've been silently screaming. Is it a black hole? The scientist leans back, rubs his forehead, and says, "We can't say with certainty. But if it's not a black hole, it's something we don't have a name for yet." The chat erupts with panic emojis. You begin noticing strange emotional shifts in yourself. Part of you is afraid, truly afraid in a way you've never experienced. But another part is curious. This is the kind of event that defines an era. Civilizations might go thousands of years without ever seeing a wandering black hole pass this close. You feel both impossibly small and uncomfortably significant at the same time. The days start to blur. More data comes in. Its velocity, its spin, hints of a faint accretion halo when it passes near denser regions of the Oort cloud. There's no debris to see here, but even the rarefied dust glows faintly under its crushing gravity before vanishing past the event horizon. The idea that this thing has been moving through the galaxy for millions of years, swallowing whatever crosses its path, sticks in your mind like a splinter. Then comes the first coordinated statement from a coalition of space agencies. The feed cuts to a plain podium, where a representative announces that the object's path will bring it to within a few dozen astronomical units of the Sun within the next century. That's closer than Neptune, closer than Pluto. For the first time, they say it aloud. The object may be a black hole. You sit in silence, staring at the screen, feeling the weight of those words. The Sun, the planets, the comets, all of it locked in a fragile gravitational dance, and now a dark, invisible partner is stepping onto the floor. That night, you dream of the solar system like a mobile hanging in the void, its delicate balance swaying as a new, unseen hand brushes past. And you wake with a thought you can't shake. This isn't just a scientific discovery. It's an announcement from the universe itself, one you wish you hadn't heard. The announcement had been careful, hedged with uncertainty, but it was enough. Once the phrase "maybe a black hole" entered the public record, there was no putting it back. You could almost hear the collective intake of breath across the world. The internet didn't wait for confirmation. Headlines dropped the May within hours. The visitor had a new identity, dark, hungry, and absolute. In the days that followed, the story spread like fire. Television anchors leaned forward at their desks, their voices dropping into tones usually reserved for wars and disasters. The phrase "rogue black hole" became a kind of mantra, repeated in every language, across every platform. You couldn't open your phone without seeing simulations, black spheres tearing through the solar system, swallowing planets like marbles. The fear was cinematic, almost theatrical, but beneath it all was a quieter, more insidious dread. Because the truth was simple. If this was a black hole, there was nothing to be done. You could deflect an asteroid, perhaps even destroy one. You could send probes. You could plan evacuations. You could build shelters. But a black hole? It wasn't something you could fight or flee from. It wasn't even something you could see. Until its gravity began to bend your own world. You followed the official updates obsessively. Though they grew less frequent, the scientists spoke less about what they knew and more about what they didn't. The mass was still uncertain, they claimed, though it was clearly several times that of the Sun. Its velocity was low, disturbingly low, which meant it would spend a long time in our neighborhood if it came close. The phrase long-term gravitational effects began to appear more often. One night, you watched a panel discussion streamed from the Royal Astronomical Society. 3 scientists sat behind a table, each looking as though they hadn't slept in days. A journalist asked the inevitable question, "What's the worst-case scenario?" The oldest of the 3 cleared his throat and spoke slowly, as if weighing every syllable. If the object passes within a certain range, it could disrupt planetary orbits, destabilize moons, and strip away parts of the solar system's outer structure. Over longer timescales, it could cause orbital decay toward the Sun, or away from it entirely. He didn't mention what would happen if Earth itself wandered too close, but he didn't have to. Everyone knew. You began thinking of it not as an it, but as a presence. Somewhere in the dark, far beyond the last whispers of sunlight, this singularity was moving, patient, silent, indifferent. You imagined it gliding past other stars, skirting other systems, each time leaving behind rearranged planets or nothing at all. Perhaps it had already swallowed worlds like ours. Perhaps it carried their dust with it, locked in its gravity forever. The leaked documents started appearing about a week later. Grainy scans of internal memos from space agencies, tables of possible encounter scenarios, percentages and confidence intervals. The most alarming detail wasn't the close-pass projections, it was the timeline. Some models suggested noticeable gravitational effects on the inner planets could begin in mere decades. Others pushed that back by centuries. But either way, the idea of eventually no longer felt comfortably far away. You found yourself watching the sky differently. Even though the black hole was invisible, you imagined its position, tracing its path through the darkness. When you looked at the planet's bright points against the night, you thought of how fragile their orbits truly were. That vast, clockwork perfection you'd learned about as a child was suddenly revealed as delicate and temporary. The media frenzy intensified when a team in Chile released a high-contrast simulation of the black hole's trajectory. Their model, rendered in sharp graphics, showed it passing through the outer solar system and sweeping past the orbit of Neptune, even without touching Earth. The simulation showed planets shifting slightly in their paths, comets scattering like startled fish, and the Sun's gravitational grip loosening in strange, unpredictable ways. The voiceover spoke calmly about low-probability scenarios, but the imagery lodged itself in your mind. Earth's orbit as an oval stretched into something unstable, elongated toward a dark point just off the frame. The reactions from governments were as mixed as they were telling. Some announced new space observation budgets, deploying more telescopes and deep space monitoring missions. Others said nothing at all, as if silence could will the threat away. But one unverified report claimed that certain nations had quietly commissioned feasibility studies for off-world settlement programs. You didn't know whether to laugh at the absurdity or feel sick at the implication. For you, though, the most unsettling change came not from the news, but from the way people around you began to talk. In hushed conversations over coffee, on trains, at work, people were speculating about what it would be like if the black hole did come close. Some spoke with morbid fascination, others with flat resignation. A few clung to hopeful theories that it might miss us entirely, that its path could change, that maybe our calculations were wrong. But behind every voice was the unspoken truth. This wasn't a storm you could hide from. The black hole itself never made a sound, never announced its approach. Yet it had already begun to shape human life. Entire fields of science pivoted toward modeling its effects. Fictionalized versions exploded across books, films, and games. And somewhere, in the quiet offices of observatories, You imagine teams running numbers late into the night, trying to find one scenario, just one that ended with nothing happening at all. But deep down, you knew that even in the best case scenario, this was a before and after moment. The before was now, this fragile bubble of normal life where the danger was still far enough away to pretend it didn't matter. The after would be whatever came next, subtle or catastrophic, quick or slow, and no matter how far you tried to push that thought aside, it always circled back. A rogue black hole was headed in our direction, and the universe had no obligation to let us survive it. It wasn't just scientists and journalists who reacted to the visitor anymore, it was everyone. The black hole had seeped into art, into religion, into politics. Street murals appeared overnight, some depicting it as a dark halo above Earth, others as a devouring maw ringed with fire. Musicians wrote songs about it, sometimes as a metaphor for heartbreak, sometimes as a literal cosmic threat. And then there were the sermons. Across the world, religious leaders began weaving the visitor into their doctrines. Some claimed it was a divine judgment, God's gravity, pulling humanity back into the void from which it came. Others insisted it was a test, a call for unity and humility. In more fringe corners, entirely new faiths emerged, sects that worshiped the black hole itself as a harbinger of cosmic rebirth. Their followers spoke reverently of the return to singularity, seeing the event not as destruction, but as transcendence. You didn't subscribe to any of it, but you couldn't help noticing how quickly people reach for meaning when faced with something utterly indifferent to them. The physical signs of preparation began quietly, almost invisibly. At first, certain deep space telescopes were granted priority scheduling, which meant they now focused almost entirely on tracking the visitor. A sudden increase in construction was reported at underground data centers officially to expand cloud capacity, though whispers claimed they were meant to preserve human knowledge if the worst happened. Then came the more unsettling changes. Small, classified payloads launched on unpublicized rockets. Rumors circulated about government arc satellites, vaults of biological material, genetic blueprints, cultural archives sent into deep space on long trajectories. The logic was clear enough. If Earth couldn't be saved, at least something could be sent far enough to escape for weeks. Nothing new was announced about the black hole's trajectory. The updates had slowed to a trickle, and when they did arrive, they were wrapped in vague language, slight revisions, ongoing uncertainty, multiple probability branches. That silence didn't comfort anyone. In fact, it only seemed to feed the paranoia. One night, while scrolling through obscure astronomy forums, you found a leaked plot of orbital simulations. It wasn't from any official agency, more likely the work of a grad student. With access to powerful software, the chart showed hundreds of faint gray lines, each representing a possible path for Earth's orbit after the black hole's pass. Most of them stayed roughly circular, just slightly warped, but a few stretched away into long, unstable spirals escaped trajectories from the sun entirely. You stared at those spirals for a long time. They were the stuff of science fiction. Earth drifting away from its star, the oceans freezing over, the air condensing into snow, the last cities huddled around geothermal vents. And yet, according to the simulation, the odds, though small, were not zero. There was another outcome. 2, in a handful of simulations, the orbit decayed inward. Not enough to send Earth into the sun immediately, but enough to shorten the year, to boil away seasons, to make the planet just a little hotter with every revolution until the seas began to steam. Those scenarios were centuries in the making, but the seed had been planted. Even a near miss could alter everything. When the next official briefing finally came, it was late at night in your time zone. You stayed awake for it, watching the live feed from a conference hall in Geneva. The panel was larger this time, representatives from multiple space agencies, along with climate scientists, geologists, and even sociologists. That alone was a bad sign. A woman from ESA stepped forward to deliver the key points. The black hole, she said, was still decades away from its closest approach, but new data suggested its velocity was slightly slower than previously thought. The phrase she used, extended gravitational influence window, sent a ripple through the room. It meant more time for its gravity to interact with ours, more time for something to shift. The Q&A session that followed was tense. A reporter asked if this could cause collisions between planets. The answer was evasive, highly improbable, but not impossible. Another asked whether the moon's orbit could be affected. That depends on many variables. And finally, someone asked if humanity should consider leaving the solar system entirely. The panel exchanged glances before the lead scientist said, "That is not currently within our technological capabilities." It was a strange thing hearing that escape wasn't possible, but also realizing that even if it were, there was nowhere to go. The nearest stars were lifetimes away, and no one knew what waited there. That night, you stepped outside into the quiet and looked up. The constellations were the same as they'd always been, but now they felt fragile, like beads on invisible strings that could be plucked out of place. Somewhere beyond them, the visitor was moving steadily, carrying the weight of its unseen horizon. And for the first time, you felt something sharper than fear, something like awe. Because in the end, this wasn't just a disaster waiting to happen. It was a reminder of what the universe truly was: vast, indifferent, and always in motion. Humanity's little bubble of stability had never been permanent. You'd just been lucky enough not to see it breaking before. When the first visible sign appeared, it wasn't the fireball apocalypse that so many sci-fi stories had promised. It was quieter, subtler. Astronomers were the first to notice. In the long exposure images coming from deep sky observatories, a handful of background stars had begun to distort, as if someone had brushed a wet finger across them. They didn't flicker or dim, they bent. The light curves warped into arcs and crescents, a phenomenon known as gravitational lensing. Within days, high-powered telescopes across the globe confirmed it. The visitor's presence was now bending light from objects far behind it, magnifying distant galaxies into shimmering, curved smears. These warped images began to appear on the news, and even though most people didn't understand the physics, they could feel the strangeness. And then came the next layer of changes. The stars themselves, the ones you could see with the naked eye, seemed to shimmer a little differently now. At first, it was so faint that only seasoned stargazers noticed, but soon, entire constellations were subtly displaced from their familiar positions. The visitor's gravity was beginning to tug on the space between, warping not only the path of light, but the very geometry of the sky. It was disorienting in a way few expected. Humans had always navigated by the stars, measured seasons by them, woven myths into their shapes. And now, those myths were bending, as if reality itself was becoming unmoored. But the most disturbing effect didn't happen in the sky, it happened in the solar system. Long-range tracking stations began reporting irregularities in the orbits of the outer planets. Neptune's position shifted by a few thousand kilometers, insignificant in day-to-day terms, but massive in celestial mechanics. Even the Kuiper belt objects, frozen remnants from the dawn of the solar system, began to drift in ways no simulation had predicted. And then the numbers for Saturn's moons came in. Tiny variations in their orbital timing suggested they were being pulled ever so slightly out of sync. Astronomers whispered about tidal stresses, forces that could eventually tear moons apart if the gravitational tug grew stronger. The public didn't hear about that part right away. What they did hear was that some comets were now on altered trajectories. A few were projected to pass much closer to Earth in the coming decades than originally predicted. That piece of news was enough to cause a sudden spike in impact event searches online. Soon after, an even stranger report emerged: the detection of faint gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime itself. Normally, those came from cataclysmic cosmic events like black hole mergers billions of light years away. But these waves were local, relatively speaking, emanating from the visitor's interactions with our solar system's mass. The effect on Earth wasn't something you could see or feel directly, but sensitive instruments LIGO, Virgo, Kaga picked it up as a subtle stretching and squeezing of space, repeating at irregular intervals. Scientists compared it to hearing the low rumble of an approaching storm, one too deep for human ears to detect. For ordinary people, though, the first tangible sign came in the form of time itself. Atomic clocks, humanity's most precise instruments, began to register minuscule deviations. It wasn't much, just fractions of a nanosecond. But the fact that they were drifting at all was enough to unsettle physicists. Space was warping around us, and with it, time. The idea that your morning coffee might last a billionth of a second longer than it used to was absurd on the surface, but it was also a reminder that the laws you took for granted were not immutable. And yet, life on the surface didn't stop. People still went to work, still cooked dinner, still argued over petty politics, but now, those arguments happened under a sky that didn't quite match the one. In old photographs, you started noticing changes in yourself, too. Not in your body, but in your perception. The night sky felt more alive now, more like a moving ocean than a static backdrop. You caught yourself wondering whether the stars you saw tonight would still be in the same place next month, whether the constellations you'd grown up with might vanish altogether. One evening, you went outside with binoculars and scanned the horizon, and there it was, a faint, not quite star-like object in the far reaches of the southern sky. It wasn't visible every night, but on certain clear evenings, if you knew where to look, you could see it, the visitor's gravitational mirage, a patch of space where light twisted unnaturally. It wasn't glowing, it wasn't radiating menace, but it was wrong, and in that wrongness, you could feel the scale of what was coming. The next week, amateur astronomers began reporting out fluctuations in meteor showers more intense, less predictable. Some suspected the black hole's gravity was already disturbing the Oort cloud, sending stray debris inward on unpredictable paths. It was just one more variable in a growing list of things no one had ever had to account for before. And then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, the International Astronomical Union released a new star map. It wasn't meant for the public, it was intended for professionals who needed updated coordinates for navigation and research. But of course, it leaked, and the changes were undeniable. Several constellations were subtly but irrevocably altered. The map that had served as humanity's celestial compass for millennia was no longer accurate. It was a strange thing, seeing the heavens rearranged before your eyes. No explosions, no fire, no screaming headlines, just a slow, inexorable bending of the oldest reference frame we'd ever known. Some people found beauty in it, calling it a cosmic dance. Others felt only dread, sensing the prelude to something far greater and far less forgiving. Either way, the message was clear. The black hole wasn't just coming, it was already here. Its fingers brushing across the solar system, rewriting the geometry of reality one fraction of a degree at a time. And this was only the beginning. By now, Earth is no longer a familiar home, it's a place where the laws of physics themselves are being warped by the black hole's looming presence. You can feel it not only in the pull of the tides, which have become violent and unpredictable, but in the strange way light bends and flickers in the sky. The constellations seem subtly rearranged, their positions warped in ways that should be impossible, yet your eyes insist they are real. The black hole has reached a proximity where gravitational lensing is no longer a distant astronomical phenomenon. It's a personal experience. Stars behind it appear as perfect arcs of light, warped into halos, as if some invisible magnifying glass is pulling them into curved ribbons across the night. And yet, that beauty is treacherous. It's the visual signature of the spacetime fabric being twisted nearly beyond recognition. You realize that the photons hitting your eyes have traveled in curves, as if space itself were a flowing liquid that had been stirred violently. At ground level, the black hole's gravity has begun to impose measurable time dilation. Scientists, desperate to understand the scale of what's happening, have synchronized ultra-precise atomic clocks on Earth with others aboard satellites in high orbit. The results are undeniable. Time is no longer passing at the same rate everywhere. Nearer the black hole's pull, seconds are stretching imperceptibly at first, but enough that GPS systems and communication networks are starting to glitch, their algorithms confused by the inconsistent tempo of reality itself. You feel the eeriness in subtle ways. Conversations with astronauts in orbit include delays that shouldn't be there, not because the radio waves are slower, but because for them, time is moving at a slightly different rate. A few minutes for you may be only a few moments for them, or the other way around. This temporal disconnect is more than a scientific curiosity. It's a warning that the black hole's influence is deepening, and with it comes the arrival of intense, high-energy phenomena. The accretion of gas and dust from the solar system's debris has created a swirling, superheated disk around the black hole, glowing in X-rays and gamma rays. These emissions, invisible to the human eye, are detected by orbiting observatories, and the data is terrifying. Bursts of radiation that could disrupt satellites, damage electronics, and pose a lethal risk to astronauts. The shielding of spacecraft is barely enough for humans on Earth. The atmosphere still offers protection, but solar activity has become unpredictable under the gravitational stress. The sun itself is showing signs of strain. Its corona is distorted, solar flares erupt with unusual frequency, and the delicate balance that keeps its fusion stable is subtly disturbed. The heliosphere, the sun's protective bubble, has been bent and compressed, leaving the solar system more vulnerable to cosmic rays. On Earth, auroras now appear far beyond the polar regions, shimmering ominously over cities that have never known such lights. Power grids are failing more often. Communication satellites drop offline for hours at a time. Air travel routes have been altered to avoid excessive radiation exposure at high altitudes. There's a sense that the infrastructure humanity has built, the delicate web of technology that keeps billions alive, was never designed for a universe this hostile. And yet, the human mind can't help but stare upward. The black hole's event horizon, once invisible, now has a distorted silhouette framed by its accretion disk. To the naked eye, it is not a hole, but a void, a patch of nothingness so absolute that your brain struggles to process it. Round it, the light from distant stars bends into a bright, warped ring, the photon sphere, where light itself orbits before being swallowed. Some astronomers are mesmerized. They point their instruments at it, chasing the perfect image of the Einstein ring, the shimmering arc that marks the ultimate convergence of light and gravity. Others can't bring themselves to look. To them, it's not an object, it's a predator, patient and inevitable. At ground level, life is adapting in strange ways. Animals are behaving erratically, migrating along paths that no longer match the seasons. Some species are guided by celestial patterns now twisted beyond recognition. Farmers find planting cycles unreliable, the shifting length of days subtly influencing plant growth. Even human circadian rhythms are disrupted by the distorted cycles of light and dark. As the black hole's pull alters the Earth's orbit just enough to throw off the delicate clockwork of the seasons, you find yourself living in a world where distance and time are no longer constants. A journey that once took hours might now seem to take longer or shorter, depending on how close you are to the black hole's influence. In extreme cases, spacecraft venturing near the warped regions of space report losing days compared to Earth's clocks, their crews aging less than those who stayed behind. Time, once a shared and universal experience, has become fractured, local, and untrustworthy. In the cities, artificial lighting has become essential, not only to counter erratic sunlight, but to restore a sense of psychological stability. Hospitals report a rise in sleep disorders and anxiety linked to the unpredictable cycles of day and night. Economies are strained as transportation, trade, and communications fail to synchronize smoothly. A train may leave on schedule according to local time, but arrive at its destination late in terms of the destination's time frame. Even currency exchanges are chaotic. Markets struggle when even the definition of a second depends on where you measure it. And yet, in the middle of this chaos, there is awe. To witness the warping of reality is to glimpse the fundamental machinery of the universe laid bare. The black hole has stripped away the illusion of stability, revealing that the fabric of existence is as flexible and fragile as silk in the wind. But awe is a fragile emotion in the shadow of survival. The gravitational influence continues to grow, and with it, the distortions will only intensify. Scientists warn that the next stage will not merely be a matter of visual strangeness or temporal quirks, it will be a direct assault on the mechanical stability of the solar system itself. Planetary orbits may destabilize, and Earth's trajectory could be altered enough to send it into a slow death spiral toward the black hole. As you stare up at the night sky, the warped constellation staring back, you understand something simple but overwhelming. This is no longer about the beauty of the cosmos or the thrill of discovery. It is about whether your planet and everything on it can endure a universe that has turned its attention toward you. You drift in a world unrecognizable from the one you once knew. The black hole, now a constant, ominous presence in the sky, has reshaped the Earth in its image. Its pull is no longer merely a force of gravity, it's a puppeteer, tugging at the strings of oceans, tectonic plates, and the very air you breathe. The climate has transformed into something alien. Temperatures swing unpredictably, storms form with little warning, and the once reliable patterns of the seasons have been obliterated. You can no longer tell where summer ends and winter begins. The planet's orbit itself is stretched into something erratic, a cosmic ellipse dictated by the invisible leash connecting it to the black hole. Survival is no longer about thriving, it's about staying alive for another day. The infrastructure of human civilization has crumbled. Power grids, satellite networks, transportation systems all have been rendered unreliable or destroyed entirely. The global economy no longer exists in the way it once did. Trade has regressed to barter and resource sharing when such generosity is possible. Cities stand as hollowed-out monuments to a past era, their skyscrapers weathered by relentless winds and lightning storms fueled by warped atmospheric patterns. Food is the new currency, and those who can grow it are the closest thing to royalty. Agriculture has shifted into enclosed, artificially lit facilities deep underground, shielded from the unstable weather above. The sun's light, filtered and distorted by gravitational lensing, no longer provides the reliable energy crops once needed. You've had to adapt to nutrient supplements, genetically engineered plants, and fungal protein grown in vats. Water is no longer guaranteed. Some rivers have reversed direction under the shifting gravitational tides, while others have dried up entirely, their sources lost to tectonic upheaval. Human communities have scattered, each evolving its own means of enduring the black hole's shadow. Some cling to old world ideals, building fortified settlements in regions still relatively stable. Others have become nomads, moving constantly to escape environmental hazards or to find dwindling resources. There are even whispers of groups attempting to build launch vehicles, crude, desperate attempts to escape into space. But the black hole's gravity makes leaving Earth a monumental challenge, and few, if any, succeed. Day to day, the world has taken on a surreal beauty. In the twilight skies, the black hole distorts the starlight into impossible arcs and shimmering halos. Time itself feels different. You've learned to trust your body's instincts over clocks, which now run unpredictably depending on their location. Conversations with people living only a few hundred kilometers away sometimes reveal that their experience of time doesn't match yours at all. A day for you might have been an hour for them. You've seen children grow in what feels like weeks, and heard of places where no one seems to age at all. There is also the psychological toll. Humans weren't built to live under the constant awareness of cosmic annihilation. Anxiety, depression, and paranoia are rampant. Some people worship the black hole as a deity, a being that has shown humanity its place in the grand order of the universe. Others curse it, seeing it as a cruel punishment or the ultimate predator. You, like many, find yourself oscillating between awe and dread, unable to look away from its beauty, yet haunted by what it could do in an instant. And yet, in some corners of the world, cooperation thrives. Scientists, now working with whatever instruments and power they can scavenge, study the black hole relentlessly. They map its accretion patterns, track its slow movement through the solar system, and speculate endlessly on whether it will eventually consume the Earth. Engineers devise shielding systems, gravitational countermeasures, and ways to harness the exotic energies radiating from the black hole's surroundings. In these efforts, a strange unity has emerged, a shared goal that transcends borders, politics, and even survival instincts. Sometimes you join these gatherings. You listen to theories about spacetime curvature, Hawking radiation, and the possibility that the black hole could be a gateway to another region of the universe. You wonder what it would be like to step across that threshold, whether you'd emerge in a distant galaxy, in another time entirely, or simply be reduced to atoms and scattered into the void. But most nights, you simply lie back and stare at the sky. The black hole glows faintly with the light it bends from behind it, an eternal eye watching over the broken planet Round it, the stars shimmer and twist, their familiar constellations warp beyond recognition. You remember the way the world used to be when night skies were calm, and the greatest danger you imagined was something human-made. Now, the threat is beyond anything humanity ever faced, a reminder that in the universe's grand story, Earth is but a fragile page, easily torn. You've adapted in ways you never thought possible. Your muscles are stronger from constant movement and labor. Your senses sharper from perpetual vigilance. Yet beneath that hardened exterior, a question lingers. How long can this balance last? Will the black hole settle into a stable orbit with Earth, creating a strange, survivable new normal, or will it pull you and everything you've ever known past the event horizon one day without warning? Each sunrise, if you can still call it that, you tell yourself the same thing. You've made it this far. The universe has not claimed you yet. And as long as you can stand, walk, and breathe under this warped sky, you will keep moving forward. But deep down, you know the truth. The black hole doesn't care. It is not your enemy, nor your ally. It simply is an indifferent giant, reshaping the world in silence. And one day, when the last human eye closes, it will still be there, patient as the void itself. The longer Earth remains in the black hole's grasp, the more it changes, not only in environment and society, but in the laws of reality themselves. Space-time isn't a rigid fabric here. It's a living, breathing thing that stretches, compresses, and twists in ways your senses can barely keep up with. Sometimes you can see the horizon curve unnaturally, as if the planet itself is bending toward some invisible center. Other times, distant mountains appear closer than they should be, then shift away again without warning. Your mind has started to adapt to these distortions. At first, the effect was nauseating waves of vertigo and headaches that left you unable to stand. But now you can sense the subtle cues, the faint shimmering at the edges of objects that tells you the landscape is about to shift. It's not just your perception. Compasses, GPS, and even traditional maps are useless now. The black hole warps electromagnetic signals, bending them back on themselves, turning directions into a fluid concept. Traveling 10 kilometers in one direction might take hours one day, then only minutes the next. This fluidity has changed warfare. 2. Nations, at least those still functioning, have learned that battles can no longer be planned with precision. Armies disappear in what should be minutes of marching, only to reappear days later, having crossed through pockets of slowed time. Guerrilla groups use this to their advantage, setting traps that rely not on weapons, but on leading enemies into regions where time runs differently. Some unlucky soldiers are said to have aged decades in the span of a single campaign. Technology is evolving in strange ways. Without the ability to rely on satellites or long-distance communication, engineers have turned to more exotic solutions. Gravitational wave transmitters, powered by scavenged reactors, send signals that can slip through the black hole's distortions, though these are expensive and rare. Some settlements have developed time beacons, devices that keep their local clock stable, allowing travelers to resynchronize their sense of time when they arrive. These devices have become almost sacred, guarded as fiercely as food or medicine. The black hole's energy output has become a resource as well. The swirling accretion disk, though deadly to approach, radiates immense amounts of exotic particles and heat. A handful of daring expeditions have succeeded in deploying orbital collectors, harvesting this energy and transmitting it to the surface. It is a dangerous game, ships venturing to close risk being stretched and torn apart by tidal forces, but the reward is immense, enough power to light entire cities. In a world where electricity is life, these collectors are worth their weight in blood. Culturally, humanity is fracturing into two distinct mindsets. There are the preservationists who cling to old Earth traditions, languages, architecture, laws, as though holding onto them will keep the planet tethered to its past. Then there are the adapters who see the black hole not as a disaster, but as the next stage in human evolution. The adapters embrace the new physics, experimenting with biology and technology to create humans who can withstand or even exploit the warped environment. Some have surgically altered their eyes to see gravitational lensing more clearly, or implanted neural chips that help them predict space-time distortions before they occur. Religions have changed. 2. In the preservationist strongholds, old faiths persist, though often reinterpreted to account for the black hole's arrival. In adapter communities, new cults rise. Some worship the black hole as the great eye, others as the threshold, believing it to be a gateway to a promised afterlife. A particularly dangerous sect believes that humanity's destiny is to willingly enter the event horizon, claiming that what lies beyond is a higher plane of existence. There are rumors of mass pilgrimages to regions where the black hole's pull is strongest, though few return to confirm the stories. On rare, eerily quiet nights, when the storms die down and the gravitational tides are still, you can almost pretend life is normal. You might sit with others around a salvage generator, sharing food and telling stories of a time when the stars were steady. Children who've grown up in this new world listen with wide eyes, unable to truly imagine it. To them, the black hole is not an intruder, it's the sky they've always known. But the peace never lasts long. Strange phenomena have begun to occur with increasing frequency. Flashes of light with no source, shadows that move against the direction of the sun, voices heard where no one stands. Some scientists believe these are side effects of gravitational waves folding in on themselves, creating echoes of events from other points in space and time. Others whisper that these are glimpses into the inside of the black hole, a place where every past and future moment exists all at once. You've seen it yourself once, maybe twice, the silhouette of someone you loved long ago, standing in the distance, their features blurred as though through water. You called out, but they didn't respond, and within seconds, the image dissolved into nothing. Whether it was a memory, a trick of the light, or something else entirely, you don't know. And so life continues under the black hole's gaze. You hunt, trade, and repair what little technology remains, always mindful of the shifting ground and the unpredictable skies. You've stopped wondering when the black hole will leave, if it ever will. Instead, you focus on the next journey, the next harvest, the next day's survival. Because here, in this warped world, the present moment is all you can truly claim as your own. It starts subtly, first as a dimming of the already distorted sky, then as an unnatural silence that presses against your skin. The black hole, for all its terrifying constancy, has always been in motion, feeding, radiating, shifting the patterns of light. But now it feels as if it's watching. Telescopes, those few that still function, show something new. Around the event horizon, the swirling accretion disk begins to fracture, forming spirals within spirals, each glowing with a different spectrum of light. The older scientists call it disk shearing, a rare instability caused when the black hole's spin changes. No one agrees on what could cause such a change unless something else, something massive, is approaching from the void. Soon after, the gravitational anomalies grow stronger. Buildings that had stood for decades suddenly tilt as though sliding toward some invisible slope. The ocean retreats unnaturally fast in some places, leaving fish flopping in the mud, only to return with walls of water kilometers high. In the highlands, rivers reverse their course, flowing uphill for minutes at a time. The most terrifying changes are to time itself. You've experienced distortions before, hours stretching into days, moments compressing into seconds, but this is different. Whole regions become frozen, people caught mid-step, mid-word, suspended like insects in amber. Some remain like that for hours before snapping back into motion, screaming or collapsing from the shock. In other places, the opposite happens. Time accelerates so fast that plants wither and crumble to dust before your eyes, and people age visibly in the span of a conversation. One settlement, known as Clearpoint, vanishes entirely. When you arrive with a trade caravan days later, you find only a wide depression in the ground, as if the entire town had been pressed flat by an unimaginable weight. The air there feels heavier, sound muffled, as if the black hole has reached down with an invisible hand and erased not just the people, but the very space they occupied. Panic spreads. Some believe this is the endgame, the black hole finally closing its grip on Earth. Others cling to the hope that it's a passing phase, that the instabilities will stabilize, and life will return to its fragile equilibrium. But deep down, you suspect the truth. This isn't just a black hole anymore. Something else is here, Theories multiply in the scattered radio chatter. Some claim another black hole is approaching, and that the two are about to collide, a cosmic event so violent it could rip the very fabric of the solar system apart. Others believe it's a neutron star, its immense density twisting spacetime in ways that resonate with the black hole's gravity. A few whisper about artificial origins, that somewhere out there, an intelligence beyond human comprehension is moving massive objects through space like chess pieces, and Earth is just in the way. The nights grow stranger. The stars, already warped, begin to shift position rapidly, as though the entire sky is a projected image being adjusted. The moon appears twice on some nights, one copy slightly fainter than the other, their phases mismatched. On others, it disappears entirely, replaced by a faint blue glow that casts no shadows. One evening, as you sit near the fire in a small outpost, you notice your reflection in a steel canteen. It's wrong. The movements don't match exactly. Your reflection turns its head a fraction of a second later than you do, and its eyes seem darker, deeper. You drop the canteen, and the reflection doesn't drop with it. Instead, it stares at you for a heartbeat too long before fading away. These anomalies aren't limited to vision. Travelers report hearing conversations from their own past echoing in empty streets, smelling the scent of loved ones long dead, or feeling phantom touches on their shoulders when no one is there. A few have even claimed to encounter full copies of themselves, identical in every detail except for their eyes that shimmer with the light of a warped sky. The more the instabilities grow, the more people begin to disappear, not in the ordinary way, not through death or wandering off, but simply gone, mid-step, mid-breath. Sometimes they return minutes later, shaking and pale, muttering about the other side in tones that make you cold. Other times they never return at all. It's around this time you start keeping a journal, not for anyone else, but for yourself. You've begun to notice that your own memories are becoming slippery, details of your past shifting in small but troubling ways. A scar you swore was on your left hand now lies on your right. A friend's laugh sounds subtly different than it used to. Your handwriting changes between entries. The world feels like it's not entirely yours anymore, as if Earth itself has been split into overlapping layers, and you're sliding between them without meaning to. It happens on what should have been an ordinary dawn, though ordinary had long since become a relative term. The sky, a fractured quilt of warped light and void, begins to ripple like water. At first it's subtle, the kind of shift you'd blame on fatigue or bad vision, but then the horizon folds in on itself, and you realize this is no atmospheric trick. The black hole, the eternal anchor of dread, is moving fast. For months, its presence had been constant, fixed in a patch of warped sky like some terrible monument. Now it drifts, pulling with it an arc of stars that bend and snap back like stretched rubber. It's not drifting away, it's coming closer. The ground quivers underfoot, a deep vibration that resonates in your chest cavity. Birds take to the air in chaotic flocks, though some fall mid-flight as if struck down by an invisible force. In the cities that remain, alarms blare, sirens wail, and voices on the emergency bands bark contradictory orders. Shelter underground, move to high ground, stay put, evacuate. No one seems to know the right move anymore. You climb to higher terrain to get a better look, though look barely captures what you're seeing. Around the black hole's silhouette, the light distorts so severely it forms looping mirages, ghost images of the Earth itself, as if the planet were being copied and stretched into orbit around the singularity. But these are not just illusions. Through binoculars, you can make out mountains, forests, and oceans on those ghost worlds. Some are calm, others violently storming, as though each is a slightly different version of home. People begin to vanish in larger numbers now. Entire groups, working side by side, dissolve into thin air mid-task. Sometimes you see them reappear in those mirrored Earths in the sky, their bodies suspended sideways or upside down, moving in strange, slow-motion patterns. Whether they are alive, dead, or something in between is impossible to say. The gravitational pull grows erratic. Cars roll uphill in some streets, while in others, steel beams bend and snap as if drawn toward an invisible point just meters away. In the forests, trees groan and topple, their roots ripped out toward the direction of the black hole's growing influence. Ocean tides become wild and unpredictable, sending walls of water inland with almost no warning before retreating as if sucked into the belly of the void. And then silence, not the absence of sound, but the removal of it, as though the air itself refuses to carry noise. Even your own breath seems muted. You open your mouth to speak, but your voice doesn't leave your throat. Round you, others are trying to, their faces twisted in panic. This lasts for several minutes before sound returns, but when it does, it's wrong, too sharp, too loud, with echoes that lag seconds behind the original noise. Night falls earlier than it should, but this night is different. The black hole has swelled in the sky to the size of a clenched fist held at arm's length. Its event horizon writhes with threads of light, twisting and snapping like living things. The mirrored Earths in its halo now number in the dozens, some cracked apart like shattered glass, others glowing with colors you've never seen before. You feel it before you see it, the final pull. Your stomach lurches as if on a falling elevator, and your legs grow heavy. Every step an act of will. Loose stones roll toward the horizon. The air is thicker, harder to breathe, as though every atom is being tugged toward the singularity. Somewhere, far below, the crust of the Earth cracks open. You see it in the distance, a line of red light racing across the landscape, molten rock spewing upward as the planet's internal pressure releases. The black hole's tidal forces have begun tearing Earth apart from the inside. Through the chaos, you realize the truth. This is not something you can survive in the conventional sense. There's no bunker deep enough, no spacecraft fast enough. The black hole is not just taking matter, it's taking reality itself, rewriting the rules as it devours space and time. And then the horizon folds again, but this time, it's not the black hole you see, it's something else, a tunnel, vast and luminous, stretching outward into a place that looks both alien and eerily familiar. Some of the mirrored Earths seem to be slipping into it. So are people. You feel the pull in your bones, in your blood, in your thoughts. There's a choice now, if you can call it that. Resist and be crushed into atoms with what's left of this world, or let yourself be drawn through into whatever. That is, you take one step forward, then another, feeling your body lighten, your vision tunnel. As the ground falls away, you glimpse Earth from above for the first and last time. Its oceans boiling, continents cracking, atmospheres spiraling, away into the black, and beyond it all, the black hole pulses, a heart of darkness beating against the skin of the universe.